so I know it's been ridiculously long since I've actually read. My voice is pretty much back to normal. It's still, like, I can't get as high pitched still. I am still a little sick. I'm not coughing as frequently, though, so hopefully there won't be any crazy interruptions for the coughing. So anyway, sorry about that. I wanted to give a couple of special shout outs, but before I do that, I wanted to say thank you so much to everyone who has, left me all these wonderful comments, all the new subscribers I've gotten, all the continued, the subscribers I already have, all your continued support. I really, really enjoyed every comment. I was finally able to get back to them all, get caught up. So thank you so much for dealing with me on that. So not only that, but the wedding was really great. It turned out really well. And the honeymoon was amazing. I got to swim with dolphins and stingrays in the Bahamas with my husband. That's amazing to say. So luckily all that is done, which means I shouldn't have too many more interruptions. I should be able to continue reading. So I will do my best to read more often and longer videos and not leave you guys hanging and having to wait for so long. So about those shout outs, I wanted to do a shout out to Emily Shaw, Todd Calloway, Lexi Mills, 08 Gameplaya, Nalia McDowell, Amy Francis, Shaggy McScraggy, Playamade Texan 12, and I apologize if I'm saying any of these wrong, Oigres Sean, Monkey Pin, and Son of Vids. And there were so many other comments that I loved. I want to give you shout outs as well. But these specific, I had lots of great feedback and support and really long messages that really warmed my heart. Thank you so much. And you guys pretty much all kind of took the pressure off me, letting me know that, it was okay that I had things going on that were taking me away from my YouTube a little bit, and you let me know that you were all still going to be there for me, and I really appreciate that, and I appreciate it from everybody else who I didn't specifically comment, so I do apologize for that. Another shout out I wanted to say was for Andrea Allen. You left me a request. Now, a lot of you did leave me a request, but I did talk to you in the comments. However, Andrea's request was a little different. It wasn't a specific book or asking, something. She or he, I'm not sure. Sorry about that. So, Andrea Allen asked me for anything from Sherilyn Kenyon. Now, I've never heard of that author, but I did go to Barnes & Noble yesterday, and I looked around, and I found some from this author. And it's she has a couple of series actually out that apparently have been like #1 bestsellers and are about to be major motion pictures from what I've heard. One of them is the Nick Chronicles, and I think the Dark Hunters series. So I did pick up the first and second book for Nick Chronicles, which after, the I am #4, and I have a lot of other things going on because I have a lot of other requests. So I was reading Stalking Jack the Ripper, which if you notice, like on any of my early videos, it's a mystery box that my parents put together for me. I've been reading, I was reading that, but I stopped because I didn't think there was any interest in it, and now I've had actually 2 or 3 subscribers request, hey, when are you going to keep reading? So I'll also be reading that one. I'll also be reading I Am #4, the Rise of, continuing with I Am #4 series, and the novella series. And I may start reading one more. There has been a special request from my family and stuff, but I'm not going to put that on there until it actually comes in through a comment. because that one might be a little controversial. So I will want everyone's, input on that. But at this moment, so once those are kind of getting a little further, or I have a little less to read, then I will definitely start reading the Knit Chronicles. And while I'm reading that series, I will most likely start reading some of the other requests that I've gotten. I think I have been requested to read the Maze Runner series, and I think there's one more, I just can't remember it off the top of my head. I have it written down, but so yeah, don't think I'm forgetting about anybody. I absolutely am not. I am keeping those things logged and stuff. My husband brought up a great point. He was saying that maybe we should open up a P.O. box, and then that way, if I do, I could put it in the link, and people could send me, like a book if they want me to read it or something like that, because I am going out and kind of buying them, which is perfectly fine for me. Or they were saying to like set up a Patreon account. I'm not sure what that is, but maybe you guys wouldn't mind me doing that, and then you guys could, if you feel like it, donating a couple of bucks, and then that way when I'm going out and buying these books, as you request them, I can actually, it'll kind of balance itself out. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel. If you're already subscribed, thank you so much. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and hit that notification bell, and go ahead and hit that thumbs up. I am seeing a couple of likes, and every time I see them, I love it. I'd like to see some more because it makes me so happy. Alright, well, I love you guys so much. This video, I am going to start with Six's Legacy, because we're very close to being finished with that novella. I think there's only like 3 or 4 chapters. So I'm going to start with that, and I'll put down in the description about where we start with the actual reading, since this one does take a little while because I did have a lot to say to everybody. I think what I'll do is, just because it has been so long, I'll just start with chapter 15. You guys can go to the last video of Six's Legacy, the last part, and kind of watch the last few minutes if you need to get a refresher. But yeah, so we will be starting on chapter 15 of Six's Legacy by Pittacus Lore in this video, during the I Am Number 4 Lost Files, the Legacies novellas. So, without further ado, this is Reading by Reed, and we're going to continue reading where we left off in the last video, which was so long ago, I know. At about, I have to write this down, 7 minutes and 20, we'll say 7:30. 7 minutes and 30 seconds. Okay. Chapter 15. Weeks turn into months. Some days, they don't feed me, but my pendant keeps me from dying of thirst or starvation. What's harder is the absence of sunlight, the endless immersion in darkness. Sometimes, I lose track of where my body ends and the darkness begins. I lose sense of my own existence, my own borders. I'm a cloud of ink in the night, black on black. I feel forgotten, incarcerated with no hope of escape, and with no information that can lead them to the others. I am useless to them for now, until they've killed the ones before me, until my extinction date. The urge to survive has gone dormant in me. I live not because I want to, but because I can't die. Sometimes I wish I could. Even so, I force myself to do the work of staying as fit and limber and as ready for combat as I can. Push-ups, sit-ups, games of shadow. In these games of shadow, I have learned to play Katerina's part as well as my own, giving myself instructions, describing my imagined attackers, before I respond with my commands. I loved this game before, but now I hate it. Still, in Katerina's honor, I continue to play. As I was lying to the Mog, I thought I was doing it so he would spare Katerina, let her live. But as soon as I saw his knife pierce her heart, I realized what I was really doing, hastening her end. I was giving him everything I knew so he would finish her off, so she wouldn't have to suffer anymore, so I wouldn't have to watch her suffer anymore. I tell myself that was the right thing to do, that it's what Katerina would have wanted. She was in such pain. But I've been without her so long at this point that I would give anything for another moment with her, even if she had to suffer unimaginable torments for it. I want her back. The Magadorians continue to test the boundaries of my conditional immortality. These trials take time to plan and construct, but every week or so I am dragged out of my cell and brought to another, jury-rigged for my destruction. The first week after Katerina's death, I was brought to a small chamber and made to stand on a sharp steel grill several feet off the floor. The door was sealed behind me. I waited for a few minutes as the room filled with noxious-looking gas, curling up from beneath the grill in green tendrils. I covered my mouth, trying not to breathe it, but I could only hold my breath for so long. I gave up, gulping in their poison, only to discover it smelled like the coolest and freshest of mountain breezes to me. Furious Mogs dragged me out of the room minutes later, pushing me quickly back to my cell, but I could see the pile of dust beside the door on the way out. The Mog who had pushed the button releasing the gas had died in my place. The next week they tried to drown me. The week after, they tried burning me alive. None of these affected me, of course. Last week, they served me food laced so heavily with arsenic I swear I could taste each poison grain. They had brought a cake to my cell. They had no reason to treat me with dessert, and I knew at once it was their hope to trick me with the cake, and in turn trick the charm. They hoped that if I didn't know my life was in danger, the charm wouldn't work. Of course, I suspected them at once, but I ate the cake anyway. It was delicious. By eavesdropping against the slot of my cell door, I later learned that not one, but 3 Magadorians perished from the attempted poisoning. How many Magadorians does it take to bake a cake? I asked myself later. Then, with malevolent satisfaction, I answered, 3. I allow myself to imagine a happy outcome in which the Magadorians, who seem to place little value even on their own lives, keep trying to kill me and end up dying in the attempt. Until there are no Magadorians left, I know it is just a fantasy, but it's a happy one. I have no idea how long I've been here, but I've grown so hardened to their execution attempts that I am fearless as they drag me through the halls to yet another. This time, I am thrown into a large, drafty space with dim lights, larger than any room I've been in so far. I know I am being watched through one-way glass or a video monitor, so I wear my face in a sneer that reads, "Bring it on." Then I hear it. A low, guttural moan. It's so deep I can feel it, rattling through the floor. I whirl around to see, deep in the shadows of the room, a large steel cage. It looks familiar. I hear jaws snapping hungrily, followed by the sounds of massive lips smacking. The Piken, the beast from our trip out here. Now, I am scared. There's a bright flash. Suddenly, I'm bathed in strobing red lights and the steel bars of the cage retract. Weaponless, I fall back against the opposite corner of the room. Clever, I think. The Mogs have never pitted me against a living creature before. The Piken steps out, a 4-legged monster. It stands like a bulldog the size of a rhino, four legs bowed, mouth all dripping, sagging jowls. Massive teeth jut from its mouth like tusks. Its skin is a putrid, knobby green. It smells of death. It roars at me, drenching me in a spittle so thick I fear I will slip on it. Then it charges. I can't believe my own body. I'm stiff from solitary confinement. I haven't practiced combat in months, but instinct and adrenaline kick in, and soon enough I'm dodging the beast like a pro, careening off corners, ducking between its legs. The Piken roars, frustrated, getting more and more worked up, battering the walls with its head. I haven't had this much fun in years, I think, as I manage to give it a roundhouse kick across the face. I land on the ground, beaming from my well-placed kick, but I land in one of its spit puddles and my arms and legs give out in the slime. It's a momentary lapse, but it's enough. The beast has me in its jaws. My whole body floods with warmth, and I'm sure that this is the end. But no pain comes. The creature lets out a long whimper, and then releases me from its jaws. It's a 5-foot drop from its mouth to the floor, and I land on my knee, which hurts worse than the bite. I turn to see the Piken sprawled out, mouth open, chest heaving powerfully. A massive crescent of puncture wounds stud its chest. It took the brunt of its own bite. It lets out another low, pitiful moan. Of course, I think. A Magadorian beast is as much a Magadorian as any of the rest. It's susceptible to the charm, too. I whirl around, trying to get the attention of whoever is watching. It is clear to me that the creature, though wounded, will live. Left to their own devices, the Mogs will nurse their beast back to health so it can live to spoil another day. I stride over to it, remembering the rabbit I killed all those years ago in Nova Scotia. I hear the footsteps of approaching guards and know I must act fast. A Mog guard bursts into the room. He wields a long blade and is about to swing at me when he thinks twice, realizing he will only kill himself in the process. I use his hesitation to my advantage. I leap off the ground and hit him with a high swing kick, his blade clattering to the floor. One more kick to keep him down, and then I swipe the blade from the floor. I approach the heaving, panting beast as more guards enter the room, and I bring the blade straight down through the Piken's skull. Dead in an instant. The guards swarm around me and drag me out of the cell. I am dazed, but happy. No mercy. Chapter 16. I've come to appreciate the tiny differences in the food they serve me. It's always the same gray slop, some protein and wheat blended into a paste and ladled onto my serving tray, but sometimes it is made with more water and less wheat, more wheat and less protein, etc. Today is a heavy protein day. I swallow it down without joy, but with some gratitude. My muscles still hurt from my battle with the Piken and the guard. Then I figure the protein will do me good. I take my last bite and back into the corner. It is dark in my cell, but there's just enough light from the food slot that I can see my feet and my hands and my food tray. Except today, I can't see my hand. I can see my left one, but not my right one. It has taken a long time to hone my vision to this state of sensitivity in the dark, so I'm furious at its failure. I wave my right hand in front of my face, twisting it left and right in my sleeve. But still all I see is darkness. I slap my face, blink, trying to bring my vision back. But still my right hand is a void. Finally, I reach down and pick up my fork, holding it in front of my face. I feel a thrill in my stomach as I push it down into my hand. I don't want any false hope. I know I can't survive any false hope. But I can see the fork, and I still can't see my hand. At that moment, my cell door opens and a lowly Mog enters. He's come to retrieve my serving tray. All it takes is the light from the hallway flooding the room to confirm my suspicion. My right hand is invisible. My first legacy has arrived. I gasp. Of all the skills I could develop, this seems like the one, the only one, that might get me out of this prison alive. The Mog grunts at me suspiciously, and I tuck my hollow-looking sleeve behind my back, hoping he didn't see. I'm dizzy with joy. He's a stupid one and doesn't notice a thing. He lifts my tray from the floor and exits the room. I'm plunged back into darkness and wait impatiently for my eyes to adjust to the point where I can see my new ability again. There it is. Hollow sleeve, invisible hand. I roll up my sleeve and look at my arm. My hand is completely invisible. My forearm milky, nearly translucent, but by my elbow I'm fully visible. I can see I'll need to practice this skill. Chapter 17. It has taken 2 days, but I've learned to wield my first legacy. My control is not perfect yet. Sometimes my invisibility stutters and I panic, struggling to restore it. Turning it off and on is not like turning a light switch up or down. It takes a certain kind of concentration. Katarina's breathing exercises have come in handy. When I struggle to control my invisibility, I turn my focus to my breathing. In, out, and then back to the ability. After I'm able to make my hand invisible at will, I start practicing with other parts of my body. It's like flexing a new muscle. It feels strange at first, but quickly feels natural. Next, I let my whole body fade out. It's no more difficult than making my hand disappear. In fact, it seems to take less precision. I'm ready. I go fully invisible and wait for the next food drop. It takes some of my energy to maintain the invisibility, energy I wish I could conserve. But I have only that single instant for my snare to work, and I can't risk them seeing me transform. Finally, a Mog appears. The food slot opens, the tray is tossed in, it shuts. I worry the snare hasn't worked. Maybe the Mogs don't bother to check on me, to look for me in my cell, in which case my power is totally useless. The slot opens again. 2 beady eyes peer into the shadows, squinting. In. Out. Sometimes nerves can send me back into visibility, and I can't spoil this moment. In. Out. The worst-case scenario is them discovering my power before I can use it against them. It is a strange thing, willing someone to see my absence. The slot closes again. I hear the Mog walk away, and my heart plummets. Where'd he go? Didn't he notice that I'm not here? The door opens suddenly. Soon, my tiny cell is filled with Magadorian guards, 4 in total. I press myself against the far corner, hiding. They are huddled close, conferring about my apparent disappearance. No way out. One leaves and runs down the hall. His exit creates more space in the room, less chance that someone will stumble onto me, and I breathe easier. One of them whirls his arm in frustration, and I have to duck as quickly as I can. He barely misses me. Close call. I dodge, quiet as a cat, into the corner nearest the door. 2 of the Mogs stand deep in the cell, but one of them blocks the exit. Move, I think. Move. I can hear footsteps racing towards the cell. More Mogs. I know that all it will take is one Mog brushing my shoulder or sensing my breath for me and my new legacy to be discovered. The footsteps are getting closer. The Mog by the door steps further into the cell to accommodate those on their way, and I lunge out into the hallway. I nearly fall on the stone floor outside my cell, but I catch my balance just in time. Flesh slapping against stone. I surely would have been discovered. A horde of Mogs is racing down the hall towards my cell from the left. No choice but to run right. I take off, landing as delicately as I can, quiet as a cat. It is a long hall. I struggle to maintain quiet, my bare feet making only the faintest of noises as I run and run and run. At first, I'm scared, but then I can feel it. Freedom, up ahead. I go faster, landing on arched feet to mute the noises. My heart leaps up into my chest as I exit the hall, and find myself in the center of the Magadorian complex, a massive cavern fed by many other tunnels, like the one I just came from. Closed-circuit security cameras are everywhere. When I spot them, my chest leaps with fear. But then I remember I'm invisible, to cameras as well as to Mogs. For how long, I don't know. A siren is pulled. I should have expected that. Flashing security lights go off as the cavern is filled with the alarm shriek. The high walls of the cave only amplify it. I take off again, choosing a tunnel at random. I pass other cells like mine, then steel doors that probably hold more prisoners. I wish I had time to help them, but all I can do is run, and keep running, as long as my invisibility will hold. I dodge left, off the tunnel, passing a large, glass-windowed room to my right. It is illuminated by bright fluorescence. Inside, hundreds and hundreds of computers in rows hum and sift data, no doubt looking for signs of my fellow guard. I keep running. I pass another laboratory, also glass-windowed, this one to my left. Magadorians in white plastic suits and goggles stand inside. Scientists? Bomb chemists? I am past them before I have a chance to see what they're doing. I can only assume something awful. My brain is split by the siren, and I want to close my ears, but I need my hands to keep my balance as I run, to keep my footsteps dainty and soundless. I have this strange thought that for all my bluntness, my tomboyishness, my warrior's training, I now find myself calling on such a feminine skill, being light-footed, like a ballerina. The tunnel feeds into another center, this one even larger than the other. I had assumed that what I saw earlier was the heart of the complex, but this is truly it. A cavernous hall half a mile wide and so dark and murky I can barely see across to the other side. I'm covered in sweat, out of breath. It is hot in here. The walls and ceiling are lined with huge wooden trellises, keeping the cave from collapsing in on itself. Narrow ledges chiseled into the rock face connect the tunnels dotting the dark walls. Above me, several long arches have been carved from the mountain itself to bridge the divide from one side to the other. I catch my breath and wipe my brow to keep my own sweat from blinding me. There are so many tunnels, none of them marked. My heart plummets. I realize I could run and run through this complex for days without finding the way out. I imagine myself like a rat in a laboratory maze, scampering and weaving to no avail. Then I see it. A single pinprick of natural light up ahead and above. There must be a way out up there. It will be a steep climb up these walls, but I can do it. As I grab the trellis to hoist myself up, I hear it. She will be found. It's him. Katarina's executioner. He is speaking to a few guard Mogs on a walkway above me. The guards tramp off. My eyes pin to the executioner as he takes a detour back into the complex. I must choose between escape and vengeance. The light above beckons me like water in a desert. I wonder exactly how long it's been since I last saw sunlight, but I turn around. I choose vengeance. Chapter 18. I follow him through the halls on tiptoe, careful to maintain my invisibility. I've learned enough about my legacy by now to know that any surprise or breaking concentration can cause me to fade back in. I watch as he ducks into the cell. I sneak in behind him as the door shuts. Unaware he has company, he walks to the corner of the room and begins to tidy up. I look down. There is blood on the floor. His weapons are out. He's tortured and killed others. I have never killed a Magadorian before, not counting the Magadorians who died trying to kill me. I have only in my entire life killed a rabbit and a python. To my own shock, I realize I am thirsty for murder. I grab a razor from his desk and approach him. The blade feels good in my hand. It feels right. I know better than to give him a chance to beg or plead, to shake me from my resolve. I clutch him from behind and slit his throat with one clean slice. His mouth gurgles and spews blood across the floor against my hands. He falls to his knees and then bursts into ash. I feel more alive than I've ever felt. I open my mouth to speak. That's for Katerina, I'm about to say, but I don't. I don't speak because I know it's a lie. That wasn't for Katerina. That was for me. I emerge from the complex an hour later, exhausted and struggling to stay invisible as I climb out to the mountain top. As I run from the mountain to a hill opposite, I have to stop to rest, to adapt to the blinding midday sun. My translucent skin bakes beneath the sun. I stare at the mouth of the complex, already hard to make out from this distance. I don't trust my memory, so I pause to memorize its shape, its precise location. I am sure Mogs have fanned out through the complex looking for me, and I am sure they have crawled out of the exit and are even right now searching through the trees along these hills. Let them look. They'll never find me. I run for a few miles through trees until I come to a road in a small mining town. I'm running barefoot, so the road slaps hard against my feet, killing my joints. I don't care. I'll get a pair of sneakers eventually. I find a truck idling at the town's only stoplight. I lightly hop into the back of the pickup, letting the truck take me farther and farther away from the Magadorian complex. When the trucker stops for gas a few hours later, I dash, still invisible, into the cab, rifling through his stuff. I take a handful of quarters, a pin, a couple scraps of paper, and an uneaten bag of barbecue chips. I run behind the gas station and sit in the shade. I draw a map of the complex's entrance on one side of the paper and a diagram of the tunnels inside, as best as I can remember. It will be a long time before I put this to use, but I know my memory of their hideaway is the most valuable thing I possess, and it must be preserved. Once I finish the diagram, I throw my head back. It's sunset, but I can still feel of the warmth of the sun on my face. I open the bag of chips and eat them in 3 messy bites. The salty sweet chips taste delicious. Wonderful. I'm in a motel room at long last. For a full day I wandered, driven by the urge for shelter and rest. There was no way I could afford a room, and in my desperation, I began to consider thievery. Pick a few pockets, plunk down the cash I'd need. Using my legacy, stealing would be a piece of cake. But then it occurred to me I wouldn't need to steal, not yet anyway. Instead, I went into the lobby of a small motel, went invisible, and snuck into the hotel manager's office. I lifted the key for room 21 off the hook. I wasn't sure how I was going to get the floating key past the crowded lobby, and I paused for a moment, frozen in the office. But soon the key disappeared too, in my palm. I'd never made an object disappear before, only myself and my clothes, a hint of my legacy's other uses. I've been in the room for a couple hours, so I feel less like I'm thieving. I sleep above the covers in the chill of the room's AC. I catch myself. I've been invisible the whole time I've been in the room. Clenched from the exertion of sustaining it, it's like holding your breath. I get up and approach the mirror across the room, letting it go. My body fills in the mirror, and I see my face for the first time in over 7 months. I gasp. The girl who stares back at me is almost unrecognizable. I'm hardly even a girl anymore. I stare at myself for a long time, standing alone in the room, unattended, unaccompanied. aching for Katerina, aching for a worthy tribute to her. But it's right there, in the new hardness and definition of my face, in the muscled curve of my arm. I am a woman now, and I am a warrior. Her love and the loss of her is etched forever in the firm set of my jaw. I am her tribute. Survival is my gift to her. Satisfied, I return to the motel bed and sleep for days. Chapter 19. Years have passed. I live an unsettled life. Hopping from town to town, I avoid connections or ties and focus on developing my fighting abilities and developing my legacies. Invisibility was followed by telekinesis, and in recent months I've discovered a new ability. I can control and manipulate the weather. I use that legacy sparingly, as it's an easy way to attract unwanted attention. It manifested months ago in a small suburb outside Cleveland. I had been following a lead on one of the guard that didn't go anywhere, and, discouraged, I was ambling back towards my motel, sipping an iced coffee. My leg burst into searing pain, and I dropped my drink on the ground. My third scar. 3 was dead. I fell to the ground in pain and in rage, and before I knew what was happening, the sky above me filled with clouds. A full-on lightning storm followed. I'm in Athens, Georgia now. It's a cool little city. One of the best I've passed through in the past couple years. College students everywhere. I've got a bit of a vagabond roughness to my appearance that stands out in suburban areas. But surrounded by college-age hipsters, hippies, and music nerds, I don't look quite so unusual. This makes me feel safe. All of my leads have gone dead, and I have yet to discover one of my kind. But I know it is coming. Time to assemble the guard. If my legacies are developing at this rate, I'm certain the same is true of the others like me. There will be signs soon. I can feel it. I am patient but excited. I'm ready to fight. I wander the street, sipping the dregs of an iced coffee. It's become my drink of choice. I've resorted to pickpocketing to finance my appetites, but it's become so easy that I never have to outright fleece anyone. I just take a few bucks here or there to get by. I'm suddenly knocked by a gust of wind, practically off my feet. For a second I think I've lost control, that it's my own power that caused it. But the wind ends as soon as it began, and I realize it did not come from me, but it has swung the door of another cafe open. I almost keep walking, but my eye is caught by an open computer terminal at the back of the cafe. I use Internet Cafe to keep tabs on the news, looking for items that could turn into a lead of my own kind. Doing it makes me feel closer to Katerina. I become my own C-Pan. I chuck my empty cup in the trash outside and step into the air-conditioned chill of the place. I take my seat and begin scanning the news. An item from Paradise, Ohio catches me. A teenager was seen leaping from a burning building, new to town, named John. The reporter mentioned how hard it was to get solid information on him. I stand up so quickly I send the chair flying out from under me. I know in an instant he's one of us, though I don't know how I know. Something in that gust of wind, something about the way butterflies are now fluttering in my stomach, brushing my insides with their wings. Perhaps this recognition is a part of the charm, something that lets us know that a hunch is more than a hunch. I know. I just know. My heart races with excitement. He's out there, one of the guard. I run out of the cafe and onto the street, left, right. I'm not sure which way to turn, how to get to Paradise as quickly as I can. I take a deep breath. It's beginning, I think. It's finally beginning. I laugh at my own paralysis. I remember that the bus station is a mile down the road. I make a habit of memorizing all transport routes into and out of any town I visit, and the bus route out of Athens returns to my mind. The beginning of a plan to get to Paradise starts to develop. I turn and begin the walk to the station. Alright, that was the end of 6's legacy. 9's legacy is next. So we will pick up on that in the next video after I read some of The Rise of 9. We should get back to the gang and see what they're up to. I know that you guys are just as anxious as I am. So that's going to be about it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I can't wait to continue reading. I'm going to probably read quite a bit today. I'm going to have a lot of videos stored up. I will start with doing one of each book. I know I have to read Stalking Jack the Ripper. I'll have to read The Rise of Nine, and we'll see where we go from there. I'll probably read a whole... Oh, sorry, I keep yawning. I'll probably read a whole bunch more from The Rise of Nine today as well. Get quite a few videos up for that, and maybe post like 2 videos today, or maybe just one of each. We'll see. But I love you guys. Thank you so much for all your support, all your comments, and I'm blown away. I have over 170 subscribers. I don't even know what to do with myself. I love it. Thank you all so much for finding passion in what I'm so passionate about. I love that you love the way I read. I hope that my voice isn't so off. I guess you'll let me know in the comments. So that's it for Reading by Ree. Until next time. Bye, everyone.